Hey, welcome to the shop. In this video, I'll give you a closer look at my 1976 Honda CB400 Four project. I made a video explaining why I bought it, but I didn't go into detail about its condition or the work I plan to do to it. At first glance, this bike looks good for its age. It has about 36,000 miles, and I've only put about 500 on it since I bought it last summer. The main reason I haven't driven it more is that, although it looks good, it needs some work. This bike has been restored at some point. I don't think the gentleman who sold it to me did all the restoration, and I believe the previous owner did at least some of it. I call the seller a gentleman because it fits. I was away when this bike came up for sale, and he held onto it for 2 days, giving me the first chance to buy it, even though he was bombarded with emails after mine. Not everyone will do that, and I really appreciate it, because I had wanted one of these bikes for decades. One sign of the restoration can be seen under the rear shock absorbers. Some areas have rust, while others look shiny. You couldn't see the rusty areas until I adjusted the shocks. I'm guessing the restorer only cleaned up the visible areas. It's possible to take these apart and get rid of all the rust. I did that for my CB550K project, as these photos show. Another sign of restoration is these aftermarket handlebar switches. That's a good place to start going over the work it needs because it has a couple of electrical issues. As you can hear, the horn doesn't work. You can also see the front lights all work, but the tail light does not. I've obviously checked the bulb, and the socket isn't getting power on that circuit. I've checked it back to the harness under the tank and still haven't found the cause. On the upside, the brake light works through both switches. I believe these electrical problems originate at or near those aftermarket switches. I've heard that sometimes these will have compatibility issues. I suppose they're made to fit a wide range of bikes, and some have different switches by country or even by year. I'll see if I can restore a set of the OEM switches that came with this bike. Another problem this bike has is a leaking head gasket, which you can see from the oil on the lower fins here. That's not a major concern to me. I'd like to take the top end apart anyway, so I can look at the cam chain tensioner. Those are known to be an area of weakness on these engines, and I'd feel better knowing this one is good. While I have it apart, I'll reseat the valves, adjust the clearances, and likely paint the cylinders. I haven't yet done a compression test, but it runs fine, so I'm hopeful it won't need any other top-end work. The gas tank on this bike looks better when you step back a couple of paces. As near as I can tell, this is the original paint, and up close it's showing its age. There are blotches in the finish on top, maybe from spilled gas, and they won't come out with rubbing compound. There was also this small spot where the paint had flaked off. I've already touched that up, for better or worse. I'll redo it when I get the right paint, but for now, an off-color paint in a less noticeable area is better than rust. The tank has a few minor dents, but otherwise it's not bad. It doesn't really come through on camera, but the inside is in exceptional condition and looks even better than the outside. As you can see here, there's a black film on the brake rotor. Of course, that's brake fluid, so I must have a leaking piston seal. I'll get a caliper rebuild kit, or if needed, a new aftermarket caliper. The brake lines are rubber like the originals would be. I'll be replacing those with braided steel lines for safety and a bit better performance. I'll get black ones that shouldn't look too out of place on this bike. While I have the engine torn down, I'll also take the carburetors apart, clean them, and if needed, install new OEM service kits. I think these are already in decent shape because the engine seems to run fine. I expect the biggest challenge I'll have with these carbs is synchronizing them, as that's apparently a bit tricky with these engines. It has what looks like a fairly new Yuasa battery, and the eagle-eyed among you will see that it doesn't have the strap that would have been on the seat. That seat's obviously been recovered. When I've ridden old Hondas having these straps, I found them to be a literal pain in the ass. So I think this one is fine without it. This bike also has a Dynatec electronic ignition, so I don't have points to mess with. You can see it doesn't have the OEM mirrors or hand grips, so I'll be buying those. I'd like to get this bike as close to stock as possible. The exhaust system is aftermarket. The brand is Cedo, but it looks and sounds close to the original. And aside from a small dent underneath, it's in very good condition. So I'm well pleased with that. I also plan to restore the engine covers and a few other aluminum parts. It's easy to make old aluminum shine like chrome. That wouldn't be 100% stock, but I think it would look better than oxidation. This bike also came with 5 boxes of parts, and here are most of them. Some are the typical leftovers from a restoration, like the front fender and a couple of sets of carburetors. However, this box has quite a few useful spare parts, like air filters, light bulbs, spark plugs, gaskets, wheel weights, oil filters, seals, brake shoes, and a few special tools. The list is too long to cover. And here are the OEM control assemblies that I mentioned earlier. I'll try to cobble together a working set from these that I can restore like I did with my CB550K. If these ones can't be salvaged, I'll hunt down a working set of OEM controls and restore those. It also came with a stack of service manuals. We've got Honda, Haynes, Climber, and Chilton's. This guide to carb rebuilding was also included. I've seen that mentioned online. It's really well done. So, it came with quite the reference library. I guess I won't have any excuses if I screw something up. I'll make more videos as I work on this project, so there's your excuse to subscribe. And if you'd like to hear why I wanted this bike for decades, it's all explained in my video tribute to the CB400 Four. You can find it in my motorcycle stuff playlist. Thanks for watching.